Friends, it's that time of the year again, 2021. It's almost done. Nothing eventful happened this year. So let's recap the year through music, because the only noteworthy thing that happened is about 20 pretty good albums came out this year. Nothing else happened. Let's kick things off with number 20, Big Red Machine. How long do you think it's gonna last? This should be the best album of the year. You got Aaron Dessner from The National, Justin Vernon from Bon Iver, uniting an all-star team of guests. You got Robin Pecknold on here. You got Taylor Swift on here. And it has some of the best songs of the year. Seriously, Phoenix might be my favorite song of the year. But it's 65 minutes long. It does not need to be 65 minutes long. It suffers from bloat. It's something that I think has affected national albums in the past 10 years. It would be a really solid 35-minute album with a bunch of really notable B-sides. Unfortunately, it's a tough listen, so that's why it only ranks at number 20 on my list. Coming in at number 19 is Slater Kinney with Path of Wellness. To talk about this album, we first have to talk about their album before this one, 2019's The Center Won't Hold. That was a controversial record, okay? It was so controversial that longtime and beloved by the fans band member Janet Weiss quit the group before the album even came out. This one is an interesting follow-up because it's halfway between The Center Won't Hold, which is slower, more electronic, and halfway between that and a traditional Slater Kinney album. Number 18 is Jose Gonzalez, Local Valley. Listen, these songs captivate you. They pull you into a trance that leaves you heartbroken while also simultaneously hopeful. Coming in at number 17 is Snail Mail, Valentine. Listen, there's nothing harder in this world than following up a highly acclaimed debut album. But Lindsey Jordan from Snail Mail did it. This album is topping a lot of year-end lists. It's received a lot of acclaim. It deserves it all. Coming in at number 16 is Steve Gunn, Other You. This is a chill album with great guitar parts. Steve Gunn uses his guitars to create a tapestry of sound that takes you on a journey. Number 15 is Segall Harmonizer. Segall, he's back at it again. This time he has a synthesizer and put out kind of a psychedelic record. It's a lot of fun. 14 is Cassandra Jenkins, an overview on Phenomenal Nature. All year, I kept hearing about how great this record is, and I foolishly didn't listen to it until like a month ago. That was dumb. Don't be like me. Listen to this album as soon as you hear about it. It's one of the best of the year. The first half of this record alone, Michelangelo, New Bikini, but especially Hard Drive, which might be one of my favorite songs of the year. Really strong first half of this record. The second half is good, but not as strong. That's why it's lower on my list. But still, I'm really excited to hear what the one-time Purple Mountains band member will do next. Coming in at number 13 is Strand of Oaks in Heaven. Again, nothing revolutionary on this album, but it is chock full, song to song, back to back, good songwriting. Coming in at number 12 is His Golden Messenger, Quietly Blowing It. Listening to a new His Golden Messenger album is like catching up with an old friend. There's a comforting warmness there that I just can't get enough of. If you haven't heard this record, or if you haven't even heard this band, listen to the last song on the album, Sanctuary. Side note, how often do you recommend the last song of an album is the first one that someone should listen to? Statistically, that's an anomaly. Coming in at number 11 on my top 20 list of favorite albums of the year is Hand Habits, Funhouse. This record seems to have come and gone, and I did not hear enough people talking about it, which is a tragedy. You got Meg Duffy, one of the great guitarists of our time. They've played with Kevin Morby, Perfume Genius. They did the slide guitar solo on Holding On by The War on Drugs. But on this record, there's no guitar shredding. You got Meg Duffy, one of the best guitarists of our time, does not need to use that skill to craft a great album. You can just leave that skill in the closet and rely on their exceptional songwriting to craft a great record. I think that's really impressive. Cracking open the top 10 for us is Matt Sweeney and Bonnie Prince Billy, Superwolves. Those two guys, 16 years ago, put out an album called Superwolf, which was highly influential on a young me. You got Matt Sweeney doing some of his famous guitar parts, and you got Bonnie Prince Billy writing some beautiful lyrics. That album meant so much to me, and then they never collaborated again until this record. Sequels are hard to pull off, especially years later, but they did it again. This is a very solid record. Super Wolves lives up to the legacy of Super Wolf. Coming in at number 9 is Kiwi Junior, Cooler Returns. One of my favorite things about music is discovering new artists, and there was not a new artist this year that was more exciting for me than Kiwi Junior. This record is a ton of fun. If I had to describe the sound, it's kind of like Sloan meets Parquet Courts. Power poppy, but also kind of garagey. Raw, but also catchy. It's a really great album, and I can't wait to see and hear what they do next. Coming in at number 8 is Buck Meek, Two Saviors. You know Buck Meek because you love his band Big Thief, but what you might not know is Buck Meek is also a great songwriter in his own regard. Seriously, this album has some great songs. I'm talking about Cannonball Part 2, I'm talking about Candle, Halo Light, and Second Sight might be one of my favorite songs of the year. It's got kind of this timeless quality to it, sort of like it almost sounds like it could be a country album from the 40s and 50s if country music in the 40s and 50s had its own alternative scene. But it's not a nostalgic novelty record. It's a contemporary album that deserves your attention. Coming in at number 7 is Andy Schoff, Wilds. For those of you keeping track at home, Andy Schoff's album last year, The Neon Skyline, was my second favorite record of the year, so I had a lot of anticipation for this album. It's not a direct follow-up, it's sort of like a side story of The Neon Skyline, but it still works on its own, albeit it is a little brief. It's not as polished, but I think that works in his style, it works for this collection of songs. It is, if not a follow-up, a worthy add-on for The Neon Skyline. At number 6, we have another Canadian record, The Weather Station, Ignorance. Okay, story time. 2018, my wife and I went to Sasquatch Music Festival in Washington State. On the third day, the very first band to play that day on one of the side stages at noon was The Weather Station. We went and saw the set. It was good. It was fine. It was perfectly acceptable noon set list for a major music festival, but it was not something we went home raving about, telling all our friends and family. So when this album came out, I saw the reviews pouring in, and they were like phenomenally good. I was surprised. Of course, I went out, got the record as soon as I could, listened to it front to back about 100 times, and I was shocked and still shocked at such a giant leap, going from a good band, leapfrogging great band, and becoming, one of the most important records of the year. Is a really cool growth and really great to see. This is one of the few artists that we saw live this year, and these songs hold up live as well. It's a really solid collection of songs. If you haven't heard it, listen to Robert, Parking Lot, Atlantic, Subdivisions. I mean, you can just listen to the whole record because it's that good. At number 5, we have Dinosaur Junior, Sweep It into Space. Another story time. Okay, so like everyone else who came of age after 1991, there's a period of time when I was in high school when I discovered Nirvana. That led to listening to Sonic Youth, Pavement, lots of those kind of 90s alternative rock bands. I never listened to Dinosaur Junior, and I don't know why, and I don't know how. I don't know why nobody ever once said, hey Kevin, you should check out Dinosaur Junior. What do I like? I like big, crunchy guitar sounds played on jazz masters in songs that are kind of vaguely country alternative rock. That's Dinosaur Junior. So I discovered them last year, and then this year they announced this record. I was very excited. The first new Dinosaur Junior album after I discovered the band. This album is a highlight, even despite the fact that I may be a little biased because I'm just excited that they dropped an album after I discovered them. But every song on here is great. I especially like Lou Barlow's Garden. But seriously, like I Met the Stones, I Ain't, I Ran Away. This is apparently according to Spotify, my most listened to album of the year. Coming in at number 4 is Sufjan Stevens and Angelo D'Agostino, A Beginner's Mind. This album cover is awful. However, as you know, the age-old rule, the worse an album cover is, the better the music is. Maybe not. But this is the best comeback of the year. For those of you keeping track at home, you will recall that I did not include Sufjan Stevens' 2020 album, The Ascension, on my list of 20 favorite records because I really did not like it. And that was a bummer because Sufjan Stevens takes a long time in between his albums. But what I didn't expect is that he was going to team up with his buddy, watch a bunch of movies, and then write and record songs about those movies. So you got songs on here like about The Thing, Return to Oz, Silence of the Lambs. And while that sounds kind of novelty, the songs themselves are beautiful and haunting and perfect. Everything you want on a Sufjan Stevens record, despite the horrendously bad album art, in my opinion. We're in the top 3. Let's kick it off with number 3, The War on Drugs, I Don't Live Here Anymore. This is the follow-up to A Deeper Understanding, which was a follow-up to Lost in the Dream. What I'm trying to say is this is a great run of albums that Adam G and the boys are on. However, this album stands on its own as a great record. The highs aren't as high as A Deeper Understanding or Lost in the Dream, but I think song to song, it's a more consistent record. There's nothing on here you'd want to skip. All of these songs are classics. They're going to be songs that are going to be in the band set list for years to come. I especially like Old Skin, the title track, Living Proof, Harmonious Dream. I mean, that's changed. That's half the album right there. It's a great record. It deserves your time and attention. Might take you a few listens, but every time you listen to it, you're going to hear something new in the mix that you've never heard before. Coming in at number 2 is Courtney Barnett, Things Take Time, Take Time. Listen, if you like Courtney's record with Kurt Vile, you're going to like this record, unless you liked it for the Kurt Vileness, because Kurt Vile's not on this record. But what I'm trying to say is it's longer songs that are a little bit slower, a little bit more relaxed, that get into a groove. There's a song on here called Turning Green, which is kind of like Courtney's equivalent to a song like Wilco Spiders or News Hallow Gallow. It's that sort of thing, which is really cool to hear her do. But every song on here is not only good, not only great, they're all exceptional. After 3 albums, a couple EPs, all containing great songs, I really think Courtney Barnett is cementing herself in as the best, or one of the best at least, in my opinion, maybe the best, millennial songwriters. One record left. My favorite record of 2021 is Japanese Breakfast, Jubilee. Listen, put this record on and let that first synth note in Paprika wash over you. Now, if you're like me, you're a snob and you're thinking, no, it's too poppy. But after the 2 years we just had, we deserve a good, fun, exceptional pop record. And this is absolutely that. The arrangements are so lush. There's synths, awesome guitar parts, strings, and then Michelle Zauner's voice just floats above everything in a tapestry of sonic proportions. I don't know what that means, but I'm just trying to say it's really good. I love every song on here. Standouts for me, Kokomo, Indiana. It's acoustic, but it's really good. The lead single, Be Sweet, sounds like it could have been an 80s pop hit, but instead it's a indie song from the 2020s. But where the album really comes together is Savage Good Boy. It is the best album of 2021. It's the album that when we feel nostalgic for 2021 in the future, we're going to turn back and listen to this record. It's really good. Thanks for listening to my list. Please listen to these albums on your own. If you agree with me, comment and tell me how much you agree with me. If you disagree with me, send me an email to fake address at idon'tcare.edu, and I'll promptly respond to you, of course. I'm really excited for music next year. We already know we're getting albums from Mitski, Big Thief, Sloan, Wilco. Somewhere out there is an artist putting the finishing touches on their next record, and I have no idea who they are or what their record is. But I'm going to discover it next year, and that's what has me really excited. That's what's keeping me going through these bleak Winnipeg winters. Hang in there. Keep being healthy, keep being safe, and I'll see you all in 2022.